Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to a spooky edition of Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons. By people who love The Simpsons. For people who love The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And the reason I'm doing spooky, drawn-out voice.
And by the way, nobody can see this, but every time he does the voice, he's doing these, twirling
Like
his
ghoul.
fingers.
I don't know what they say.
Like a lot of marionette puppets or something.
Like old Dracula fingers. It's Dracula.
Dracula fingers is not a thing. It might be the name of this episode, but it's not a thing.
Old Dracula fingers was a nightmare person I used to dream about. Anyway, why are we talking about nightmares and doing spooky voices?
Yeah, it's April.
It is April. It is because we are going to be doing our Mayoween episode, our very first one, where
Right.
we are going to be watching a Halloween episode in spring, and
Right.
it's a Mayoween episode and a Halloween episode because even though it's April,
You'll probably be listening to this in May. You'll probably...
this is coming out in April. You'll probably listen to it in May because people tend to not listen to our episodes the day they come out. But it's coming out in April, and that kind of fits because this Halloween episode aired in November.
Yeah, well, the reason we're doing this, and this is going to be the first of many, this is our new Mayoween tradition, is because we did the math, and if we do one episode a week for the next 10 years to get all the Simpsons episodes, we'll have a surplus of Halloween episodes.
Right.
We really need to do more like 2 a year, so this is airing. This is coming out 6 months to the day of our actual Halloween episode, the week of Halloween. So we figured, you know what, why not? Mayoween is
Mix
a thing.
things
Even though
up.
it's in April, Mayoween.
We're making Mayoween in April a thing.
Nothing to do with mayonnaise.
What did I buy all this Hellman's for?
Sandwiches?
Oh, okay. That's a perfectly good use of mayonnaise.
That's your mayonnaise voice, by the way. Ooh,
I bought some Hellman's. It does have hell in the title.
better than Miracle Whip.
It is better than Miracle Whip. I don't like mayonnaise really.
I don't like either.
But Miracle Whip
can't tell
tastes really weird.
I don't know. I haven't.
More like Miracle shit.
Take that. I hope they're not owned by Vlasic.
Oh boy, then they'll never sponsor us. So I should mention what episode we're watching. We're gonna do a Halloween one. Halloween
Hellman.
Halloween Hellmans. Wow. Old Dracula fingers bringing out the Halloween Hellmans. No, we're going to be watching Treehouse of Horror 16 from season 17. Originally aired November of 2005. Jack, have you seen this one?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea what the
We have
vignettes
no
are.
idea what it is.
Oh, actually, the reason we picked this one is...
Yeah, well, we mentioned it last week. There's a vignette in it that's called "I've Grown a Costume on Your Face," and I think we brought it up at the Great Louse Detective.
Yeah, a couple
few
of weeks ago when we did the Sideshow Bob. He sings a costume, and we said there was one more reference. So our guest last week, Josh...
Yes, he filled it in.
He said, we were like, well, we should do a Halloween episode. He goes, why don't you do that one? And we said, you know what, Josh? You're right. You're
right.
We will.
So let's get into it. If you have not watched this episode yet, you can do so on SimpsonsWorld.com. Again, it's Treehouse of Horror 16 from season 17. That's very confusing. But you can just go to WePodcast.com, and there's a link for it there, as there is a link to lots of fun stuff. So we're going to take a break and watch that episode right now, and we'll come back with more spooky Mayoween fun.
Blah.
Nice.
Rodriguez pops it to right field as some sort of accelerate bathes the stadium in an eerie green glow. Who would have thunk it?
So that was Treehouse of Horror 16?
16,
XVI?
yeah, from season 17.
What year was that?
That was... God damn it, Jack, I just closed
Sorry.
that.
It was definitely when they were still at the height of their doing their Simpsons after the World Series in November era. They're back to doing it on time now, I think.
That was 2005. November 2005.
Oh,
I said
10
it
years
moments ago
ago.
to the listener, but for us it was like a half hour
That was
ago,
a
and I
while
forgot.
ago.
That
so
was...
let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
So a lot of them now, I don't know when they started doing it, but before this one, they basically expanded that intro that used to be like Marge in front of the curtain or Bart presenting. It used to be the framework, or originally it was a framework. It was
Right.
a Treehouse of Horror. They were in a treehouse telling scary stories, and then there was the Halloween costume party at the Simpsons house, and
right, the nightmares that
have
they
the
had
nightmares
after
from
eating
their
the candy,
candy,
the night gallery thing.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So eventually, it just kind of became another scene. And then even after that, it's still another scene, but like an introduction scene. But now I feel like they've drawn it out a lot longer. So it's basically
It's
fourth
four
segment.
stories. Yeah. Now.
It's not quite a segment in its own right because it's still setting up the show somehow. But no,
Right.
sometimes they pretty much they come up with a creative way to spell out Treehouse of Horror with guts or blood. But besides that, it pretty much is its own kind of short story.
Yeah, it's just another vignette.
I like that. I
spooky
miss the
vignette.
framework. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
I miss the framework.
The Night Gallery one was always one of my favorites. The season 5, Treehouse of Horror 4 with Bart. And the
That
Night
used
Gallery.
to always be my favorite Treehouse of Horror. I think it's just because I saw it the most in syndication. I feel like I've seen that one more than all the other ones.
Yeah.
Season
6,
I think I'm
also
a
a
little bit
great
more
one.
partial to season 6 and the earlier ones. I still think the original Treehouse of Horror in season 2 is probably my favorite. I think it's such a
Really?
It's such in terms of I think it's really funny and just I like the
It is, but-
and then the Raven I think is one of the greatest 2 minutes in Simpsons history.
I think The Raven is very underrated as a Simpsons Halloween segment. I agree with you. It's not the most funny.
It's not the most funny, but James Earl Jones
James
does
Earl Jones,
such a good
yep.
job, and they do such a good job incorporating Simpsonia with Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
But actually, the haunted house one is one of my all-time favorite.
Really?
favorites.
Bad Dream
I
House,
think
huh?
it's so funny.
Wow.
I just even with the season 2 slower pace, I just laughed my ass off with that one.
I don't know if we talked about this when we did the first Halloween episode we did back at actual Halloween. I think it was our 5th episode. But I think my favorite segment was the shinning. I think
That's up
my
there.
personal
Yeah,
favorite.
that entire episode is really, really good.
Because not only, that whole episode is great. That also had the Time and Punishment, where Homer goes back in time with a toaster, and the Nightmare Cafeteria, where the students are eating the teachers. All 3 great, dark episodes, very funny. But The Shining in particular, I'm a big Stephen King fan. I love the movie The Shining. You don't need to have seen the movie The Shining to appreciate it.
I was shocked when I saw The Shining for the first time, which I was lucky enough. I got to see it at a midnight screening, so I got to see it on the big screen by myself.
You were all alone.
I got there really first. All right, I lived near the theater. I was living in Soho at the time.
Right.
And it was a Sunshine Theater on Houston, and I got there really early, and I was really excited to see The Shining, and I got a really good prime seat.
Was this the first time you'd ever seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's great.
And it was a prime. I got a really good seat because I got there early and I had no friends and I had nothing to do and it was midnight on a Friday night.
Nice.
And so I got an early seat and then it got packed and I was there for a half hour. So bored. It was before
Smartphones and
apps
stuff.
and
Yeah,
Kindles and stuff. And so I was really bored. And then eventually there's only 3 seats left. And the usher made me move my seat so that a couple could sit next to each other. And they moved me to a really shitty seat on the, because that was one seat by itself. And I could sit anywhere and they needed 2 seats together. Oof. I was so mad. Mad.
Wait. Couldn't you have just moved over a seat?
No, because
Oh, it was like a blank seat and you.
Yeah.
And they asked you to move so they could
moved
take
me
the 2
to
seats.
another
I see.
blank seat that was just,
Yeah.
So anyway.
Blank seat is not the term. I just said it and then you said it because I said it.
It's
empty seat is what normal people would call it.
Do you like that sitcom Blank Nest?
I love that Taylor Swift song, Blank Seats.
I hate when you're on the highway and your gas tank goes blank. I really like the Bugs Bunny voice actor Mel Empty. Anyway, long story. Actually, short story long.
Mel Empty.
Short story long. So I was shocked when they cut to Jack Nicholson. Spoilers if you haven't seen The Shining.
Yeah.
He freezes to death and it's a close up of his face frozen, and it's comically frozen. I didn't realize that The Simpsons was doing it dead on.
They really took all of the biggest beats of that movie and distilled it into what I would say is 5 or 6 minutes of perfect comedy.
It was a perfect parody.
Yeah, excellent parody. But you didn't need to have seen The Shining to appreciate it. Yeah. But if you did see The Shining after the fact, you're like, holy crap! Yeah. You can appreciate the artistry.
Well, anyway,
that has nothing to do with this episode.
So back to the original. I miss the framing devices of the classic Simpsons Halloween episodes. I don't mind the 4th segment, especially because it does have a different vibe than the other 3 in that it's leading it.
Yeah,
I don't mind the idea of it.
They can get away with it not being It can be weirder. I mean, this Halloween segments are already weird, but they don't usually end with Kang and Kodos destroying the universe, which is how this one ends.
So this one I think was very funny. I would say of all the segments, it was the weakest of the 4.
Yeah, maybe. Well, instead of doing our usual full episode recap, let's just recap that opening segment.
yeah.
Basically, Kang and Kodos. We're watching the World Series because
Which is funny.
it's funny because this was the stretch of time where the World Series was airing at the end of October. I guess it still is. I don't follow baseball.
But this is when the Simpsons.
It would preempt the Simpsons, and they would usually push the Halloween episode to November.
So presumably everybody was watching postseason baseball for a month, and now they're watching the Simpsons. So it's a good transition.
Yeah. So they're watching the World Series, and then Kang and Kodos are watching from a monitor in space, and they're like, "Oh, if this boring game never ends, we'll never get to the Simpsons Halloween episode." And then they
speed it up with an accelerate.
They speed it up with the accelerate, and then that turns into a black hole that takes
goes
in
too
everything.
fast. Yeah.
And that is the end of it.
Yeah.
The end of everything.
Yeah, pretty much. All right.
What did you think of this opening?
I don't like when people shit on baseball and call it boring. I love baseball. I love watching baseball.
Okay.
You gotta watch it by the pitch. You watch by the pitch, you don't get bored. It's exciting.
Okay. I don't really watch baseball. I like it when I'm there. I don't really like it on TV.
It's just, if you go by the pitch by pitch, it's super exciting. You got to break it down into small chunks. Right. Anyway,
so you claim.
So I don't like when they make boring baseball jokes. In general, but it is because I understand the joke.
Yeah.
If you do it right, it's very funny. Futurama did a great job with it. I think when they did the future baseball sport.
Blurns Ball?
Yeah, Blurns Ball. But Harry Shearer's delivery as the broadcaster.
The broadcaster, was great throughout. Yeah.
He sold it. Like, it was really funny the way he was just like, and a highlight of the game was a cloud shaped like a giraffe.
Yeah, during the rain delay.
Yeah. So I did like that, even though I didn't like the concept of the joke.
Yeah. It was fine. It was a cute little opening. I did write, man, this is really long because it went on very long. But as we were saying, it's basically just a fourth segment.
But not only did it go long, though, it's Kang and Kodos. And if you haven't checked out our episode 17, the one where we covered the
man
actual,
who came to be dinner.
Yeah. Kang and Kodos, better, less is more, really, the phrase less is more really applies to Kang and Kodos especially.
This was even skirting the length of time I want to spend with Kang and Kodos.
And it's not just because they're characters, it is because of that. And it's also because the writing isn't as strong as it used to be. But it's also, I think, in terms of voice acting, when Dan Castellan and Harry Shearer are doing Kang and Kodos, if they're doing one-liners that can come off really funny, when they start to actually converse in those voices, it loses something. It loses a little charm.
Like exposition about things delivered by Kang and Kodos. It's not great.
Yeah,
no one wants to hear that like booming alien voice.
We should get our secretary something for Secretary's Day. It's like the joke is that it's very mundane and that they're doing it, and I get that. But they lose something in the voice acting just by talking more mundane.
Yeah, I agree. About the administrative professionals thing, let's talk about that for a quick second. They're trying to speed up the baseball game, and they're saying, at this rate, the Halloween episode won't air until Administrative Professionals Day, which I think is actually in March. And then they show a picture of Dorothy, their administrative assistant, their secretary, and then we're like, ooh, yeah. I forget what they actually said. But
at first, I thought the joke just was, she's a nice secretary. We should get her flowers or something. But it turned out that
it's like this weird sexual thing.
Yeah, and it went on for like a couple of beats.
I didn't like that at all.
It was practically like hubba hubba.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't like that.
It just came off as really creepy.
That was lame. And again, with the voice acting, he makes a joke about how if they might set off a black hole and destroy everything. He goes, that's the only way the Cubs will win. And that was like, I could just hear it in Harry Shearer's voice. He wasn't even trying. He was just reading the line, and it was just a bad line reading. And again, a Cubs joke is really easy. Maybe you can make it work, especially if you're Harry Shearer and you just made baseball jokes work.
Right.
But you just had a bad joke and a bad line delivery, and it's just like that whole Kang and Kodos.
Just a perfect storm of not good.
I really didn't enjoy it.
There was that weird moment where they're like, let's look at the baseball players' wives, and they're all talking on their cell phones, which I guess actually happens in real life, but it wasn't really a joke. It was just like, this is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, with all those steroids, they all look like freaks. And then Kang or Kodos grows a second head and then eats it.
Yeah, they go freaks, freaks, freaks. Is that from Freaks? Is that a thing that when people go them chanting freaks, freaks, freaks?
Maybe I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen Freaks.
Either way, it didn't make me laugh.
Good movie though.
It's funny. The only other Halloween episode, we'll talk about this in the rankings later. We've only covered one other Halloween episode.
Yeah, Treehouse 20.
In general, I think that one we didn't like because it was bland. It was very, very bland. This one, I think, falls a little bit more into the painfully unfunny category.
This opening especially. Yeah, I agree. I did like the cloud shaped like a giraffe in the rain delay. That was funny.
the black hole, so they accelerate.
That's pretty much it. Well, I liked that. So they have the accelerate, and they're going to speed up the baseball game, and they do. And what I really liked was that the broadcaster, Harry Shearer, is like,
still,
oh, it looks like there's some sort of accelerate.
Yeah. Casting an eerie glow.
Like that he knew it was an accelerate, and he's not sped up, and he's fine.
He was easily the best part of that entire segment. Was
definitely.
Harry Shearer's broadcasting.
Probably the only good part of the segment. Although, actually, there was one other thing. Like when the black hole starts, it pulls in all the baseball players, and it's like a Tasmanian devil whirl over the stadium. It pulls in everything, and eventually it pulls in God, who's like grabbing onto the frame and trying not to get pulled in.
Yeah, it was like Don Hertzfeld. It was very like the cartoon character actually trying to grab the outside of the frame to pull himself
very
in.
rejected.
And God's like scared look, puzzled look. That was funny.
Yeah, I like that. And then right after that, there was something I did not like, where Kang or Kodos says to the other one, like, "Nice move, Space Lax."
Oh yeah, I didn't even.
That doesn't even make sense. Like smooth move, Exlax. But Space Lax isn't a thing.
Smooth move, Exlax, a phrase?
Whoa. We are breaking new ground. You don't know the phrase smooth move, Exlax?
Is that from a movie?
No, it's just like a common
diarrhea
phrase.
joke?
Like, yeah, Exlax makes you poop.
I never.
Smooth
Who
move,
says smooth
Exlax.
move, Exlax?
That is a thing.
That is not a thing.
That's a thing, my friend.
Who says that? I can't imagine.
I have said that in my life.
Like, is it like a cool thing to say, or is it like a corny thing to say?
I mean, at this point, it's definitely.
Is it like
uncool.
it's like a no shit Sherlock?
Basically, yeah.
I just can't imagine like two street toughs like getting into.
I don't know if the street toughs are saying it, but it's a known expression. It's being like, you're not all that in a bag of chips. It's like one of those crappy expressions.
How have I missed out on this for 30 years?
I don't know.
Nobody's used the Exlax line on me. I guess because all of my moves have been smooth and they didn't need to sarcastically comment on them.
That's true. You are a pretty smooth operator. Maybe if you say it in a spooky voice, like, smooth moves,
that's smooth.
That's very smooth. I think that's it for this opening. It's kind of, it was just kind of whatever.
So the next one was BI instead of AI.
Artificial Intelligence.
All right, to beat artificial makes artificial fine. Yeah, it's good. That's a good
That's
title.
it. Moving on. The next segment.
Let's just rank the titles from now on.
Survival of the Fattest. That was lazy. And then what was the last one? I've grown a costume on your face.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
But...
No, so BI, a good movie to parody. It's a Kubrick again, sort of. It's actually more Spielberg, but
right. It's a pretty straightforward artificial intelligence parody. AI.
Yeah, and it's a good idea.
In AI, there's a son who gets sick, and they think he's going to die, so the family adopts this robot child, which is basically what happens here. And then the son in the movie gets better, and they ditch the robot kid in the woods.
Now they got an extra son they don't need.
Right, and they're just like, I'll just drop him off in the woods. And in this one, it happens the opposite, where Bart comes out of the coma, and he's fine, and they're like, we don't want Bart. We're like, we like the robot better.
Well, I want to talk about that twist in a little bit, but a couple of things I want to talk about before that.
Sure.
So the episode opens with them at a hotel or something, or just Patty and Selma's apartment, I guess. I like that Patty or Selma was like, which one of us likes the grape jelly? I like that they didn't know.
Right.
And I also appreciate that they reference it because, you know what? Grape jelly is gross.
You are wrong. You are incorrect.
Like
I ate grape jelly this morning, my friend.
No. When I was a kid and I would eat it in my peanut butter jelly, that's one thing. But now I still love peanut butter and jelly.
I hate peanut butter and jelly, actually.
I make it all the time.
We're like the original Odd Couple.
No, we're like the black Odd Couple from the 90s.
There was a black Odd Couple?
I'm pretty sure there was.
There was the Honeymooners movie with Cedric the Entertainer.
I feel like there was a sitcom, like an Odd Couple.
There's a sitcom now with Matthew Perry and Tom Lennon. It was called The New Odd Couple. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if they were black.
Did Neil Simon write it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was written by the showrunner from season 3 of Home Improvement. No, I have no idea. It might have been Neil Simon. Who knows? Anyway, no, grape jelly's gross. I can't eat it.
You're wrong. Do you like grapes?
Yeah, I love grapes. Well,
they made it into jelly for you. It's easier. It's more convenient.
It just doesn't taste like it tastes more.
No, it tastes
fake.
like artificial crap.
Yeah,
I agree, but I like artificial.
Right.
I drink Dimetap just to get that sweet artificial grape flavor.
I remember. This is really off topic. It'll probably be in the deleted scenes.
Okay.
There was.
Keep it nice and short this episode.
The band Green Jelly, right?
Yes, Green Jelly.
I remember there's a trivia bit about it. The fact that they were originally going to name themselves Green Jello.
They were called Green Jello, and they actually put out their first album and then had to recall it and change it to Green Jelly. Yeah.
All right, so that trivia bit, I remember you used to whip that out all the time in high school. Like, that was your go-to trivia. Like, that was your icebreaker at dinner parties, which we had, like we went to dinner parties.
You know that band Green Jelly? No. Oh, well, an interesting tidbit about them.
But I for some reason, I remember specifically, like, that was you brought that up in almost every conversation we've ever had.
Well, I was a weird fan of Green Jelly.
You were really into them.
If you know them at all, you might remember they had the song "The Three Little Pigs," and it was
It's a good song.
the big thing was that they put out video albums. It was just all videos, and it would come out on VHS, and then they would put out the actual album.
Yeah.
And back somewhere in my house, I have both of their VHS albums.
Yeah. And they were originally named Green Jello.
And I think I actually have the one that was called Green Jello, but this is not interesting to anyone.
So
No one is a fan of Green Jelly in 2015.
So Bart jumps out the window.
Actually, wait. I'm sorry. I'm staying on the Green Jelly thing.
I brought it up. It's my fault.
Tying into a few weeks ago, Green Jelly did a song with Hulk Hogan
No shit.
called "I'm the Leader of the Band."
Does he rap in it?
I'm the leader of the gang. Sorry, and it starts off with Hulk Hogan going, "Do you want to be in my gang, my gang?" It's an awful song.
That's a real song.
That's a real thing. It's almost certainly on YouTube.
Is he making it for kids?
I have no idea
Like-
who they make. I don't know who Hulk Hogan makes his music for. He's just got a muse that he has to. He just has to get it out. Gotta get it out.
Yeah. So Bart jumps out the window, and die. No, he doesn't die. He's trying to jump
into the pool. Yeah.
backwards, and he goes cowa, and then he never gets to finish it because he hits the pavement and hurts himself.
But then jumping ahead when he comes out of the coma, he goes bunga.
Yeah, I like that.
That was kind of funny.
That was fun. Fun way to bring him out of the coma.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it got real dark real quick because obviously Bart. It seems like Bart is dead.
Yeah.
And then Lisa looks out and sees him fall and just calls out and just goes, "Mom, remember how you wish we'd never grow up?"
Yeah,
that was dark.
I mean, I feel like
And then it cuts to Marge was crying by Bart's bedside, which was also pretty
that was
dark.
more heartfelt than you usually see in a Halloween episode.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
actual genuine grief,
Genuine
not
emotion.
not funny dark.
Right.
But I want to talk about funny dark.
Funny Dark.
You mentioned
the sequel to the video game Perfect to Dark.
You mentioned The Shining, which is pretty dark and has some brutal killings in it.
Yes.
So it's been around for a while, but I do feel like the newer ones, starting in season 9. They got really
They got much more
with
graphic.
the casually murdering.
Yeah.
They seem to get. They go out of their way to try to come up with fun, gruesome ways, which is a Halloween episode. So I'm not I'm not shitting on. I'm not attacking it per se. I don't quite like it as much as the older ones. But yeah, they come up. I noticed it for the first time in season 9.
Yeah.
It was when Homer wears a toupee, a snake's toupee.
He gets the hair transplant.
So he's
from
killing,
Snake.
and he puts a corkscrew into Moe's chest and pulls out his
pulls
heart.
out his heart. Yeah.
And that, even though again the Shining, everybody gets an axe in the back.
Right.
That was more comical. I don't know. It definitely seems to be darker, and this one has plenty of it. A lot of them before and after have this.
Since you brought it up, I'll bring up this point now. It seems like there's a lot more violence than there was. Violence here.
Violence,
There's a deep callback. We haven't done that one in a while.
For good reason.
No, violence here. In the survival of the fattest one, which was the second segment of
This
the
is
show.
the epitome of what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. There's a moment where Smithers has a bag of severed heads of people that Mr. Burns has killed, and he holds up one of them. And you just see Smithers just holding up a head, and I thought that was really interesting because that's pretty Groophic. Groophic. Wait.
Groophic sounds like a really bad 70s animated character that the government sanctioned to teach kids a lesson about something specifically. Maybe don't bike without a helmet. It's Groophic says, put on your helmet.
I picture a big fuzzy monster like Muzzy. You remember Muzzy? He used to teach there were commercials for Muzzy was a big monster that would teach you how to speak French or Spanish and teach languages. It was an infomercial thing. Huh. Whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Well, Groophic is about bike. Kids, wear your bike helmet.
Wait, Groophic says.
I fell off my bike once and landed. I was on a rocky road. Literally, it was made out of rocks. And
you were biking on ice cream.
And my body was all cut up and scratched up. But there was a dent in my helmet that if I didn't have my helmet on, I would probably be dead or at least
in a coma,
in a
Bart.
Bart-like coma. Yeah, exactly.
Before I said Groophic and took us off topic, I had a point I wanted to make. Basically, Smithers holds up this severed head, and it made me think, it's very graphic, but I realized it's a cartoon.
Were you calling me?
Groophic, what are you doing here?
I'll just go back to the bus.
Okay.
Make
Bye,
sure you get your helmets on.
What a guy, that Groophic. I hope he comes back for many episodes to come.
I will.
Close the door on your way out, Groophic. How did we still hear him when the door closed?
I have very loud footsteps.
Get the hell out of here, Groophic.
You're going over here, over there. You guys still recording?
Groophic, you're interminable. So loud and annoying, that guy. When will this bus finally arrive?
Man, it's been weeks. It's been weeks. I think they might have canceled the line.
I feel like someone should go tell
I feel-
all these colorful characters that this bus is not coming.
I feel bad. I've been bringing him soup every night. It's just hard to watch.
Maybe don't give Groophic any soup.
But I love minestrone. It's my favorite. Grouphic loves minestrone.
Groophic away.
Italian wedding's my second favorite.
I'm crying. Whew, I really want to make this point about these fucking heads. I have no idea even where to come back in. All right, so that's enough from Groophic for now. Here's the point I was originally trying to make. Smithers holds up these severed heads. It's very graphic. It's on the cartoon. It reminded me of, I don't know how familiar you are with this, Jack, when they... Frederick Wortham wrote the book about comic books, Seduction of the Innocent.
Yeah, I mean, I know the history of it. I've never read it or anything.
I've read it many times. No, I haven't. But
it's pretty much it led to Batgirl and Batwoman, right? And the comics code.
Yeah, it led to the comics code and kind of homogenized comics and made them a little bit more PG, I guess. And it was largely in response to the homoeroticism of Batman, but much more so Tales from the Crypt and the EC comics, kind of like the dark horror comics that they would publish and like true crime kind of stories.
Which The Simpsons has drawn a lot from.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But one of the most famous covers that this Dr. Frederick Wortham, who was a piece of shit, you can read all about there's lots of great books about this.
Piece of shit.
About this fucking piece of shit and his comics bullshit. One of the very famous things that he would bring up was the specific Tales from the Crypt cover that was basically the same thing. It was someone holding up a severed head, and that was like the front of the cover. And I thought that was interesting that at one point there was a Senate committee about like a piece of media like this, and now it's just airing Sunday night at 8 o'clock in 2005. Just the same thing, but worse.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way as a society. That was it. That was the only point I wanted to make.
If only Wortham could see the bloody, violent Groophic novels, which about putting on your helmets, 60-page stories about how it's just graphic shots of kids who didn't wear their helmets, and it's just their caved-in brains all over the pavement with a tricycle on its side. It's he would not approve of those.
Does Groophic ever get hit in these comics?
No, I always wear my helmet.
What a stand-up character.
I'm no hypocrite.
Okay, so back to artificial intelligence.
Okay, so then they order. Hibbert offers them to buy a robot. I really like the cover of the pamphlet, which was a dog pulling the bathing suit down off a boy, and it's like a classic Americana shot of the boy with the bare butt sticking out, except
like the copper tone baby.
Yeah, and this was it was circuitry and stuff like that, and
robot legs. Yeah.
And it was really a great mix of classic Americana and futurism. That's the type of stuff Simpsons has always done so well, and I wish
true.
Maybe there's more thought put into more jokes like that. These days.
Well, there was an interesting moment that kind of was very telling of post-classic Simpsons episodes where at one point Hibbert says, "Oh, your son's in a Kona. It means I get to keep billing you." And then he says it again, and Marge is like, "You already said that." And he goes, "Well, the first time you didn't laugh." Yeah. That was very repetitive joke Simpsons.
And I almost found it funny because I love Hibbert and I love Hibbert's delivery, but a part of me was just I don't know. It was almost too meta for me. I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I didn't even bother writing that in my notes. I was going to let that one slide, if only because then in that same scene was an awful thing where Homer does an impression of a robot. I think it was that scene.
I honestly don't even remember this.
So Homer's just like, can we get the robot and can I make its head explode by asking it conundrum type questions?
Right.
Like, is everything I say a lie? But then that is not a lie.
Yeah, it was like, this statement is a lie.
This statement is a lie. And then bop, beep, boop, bop, bop. And it just Dan Castellaneta riffing. It was like that, what episode was it we covered a long time ago where he's in the car and he was doing something and it just went on forever. He was talking gibberish.
Yeah, I remember hating it, but I
Yeah,
don't remember what episode
he
it was.
He was like talking gibberish in the car forever, and this was this. He was just doing stupid robot sounds.
Yeah.
Like that guy from Police Academy. Beep, bop. But no, it was really.
Stay out of my booze. Yeah, I
hated
forgotten
that.
about
That was one of my
that.
least.
Yeah, you're right.
That was painfully unfunny. That
You
was
were right. That is painfully unfunny.
But I did like Boys R Us. Is
that what that's where they
that was the
ordered it
name of the
from?
company. That was
Nice.
cute.
Hey, here's a question for you. Did they make the robot
For me?
son? God damn you, Groophic. Get the hell out of here.
I'm sorry. Nobody's told me where the bus stop is. I've been walking in circles.
Don't tell him. This bus stop is so crowded.
I'll just follow that voice.
I want the express bus. Express bus.
Yep.
So here's my question for you. They order the robot son. It gets delivered to the house. Do you think they intentionally made him look like Dennis the Menace? Because he was like a short, blonde-haired, blue-eyed little kid.
I didn't.
It was the first thing I thought of.
And
maybe
you brought it up. I thought he's just supposed to be your standard, like, American blonde-haired, like, perfect, Third Reich, Aryan, like, human specimen.
They didn't make him look like Haley Joel Osment, who was the robot in AI.
Well, but maybe that was like a Simpsonized version of Haley Joel Osment.
Well, he's not got blonde hair.
He doesn't?
No.
Oh, I don't know. What do you have, red hair?
Red hair?
I thought he was blonde. He's not blonde.
No, he's got like dark hair.
I don't know about that. I think he's blonde.
I know about it. I've seen The Sixth Sense.
I think he's blonde. I don't know. Which Dennis the Menace are you talking about? Like the 50s TV show?
The fictional character Dennis the Menace.
Well, he didn't look like... Which Dennis the Menace are you talking? Are you talking...
Just like the iconic, like...
I mean, the iconic one is the one from the comic strip and the cartoon where he's like short and fat with freckles. He didn't look like that.
He didn't look like that.
He looked more like the movie of the TV show.
I guess
one.
I'm thinking of the Walter Matthau movie from the 90s.
Walter Matthau, he made a good George Wilson.
He sure did.
Get over here, boy.
It's funny that
Stop being a menace.
Walter Matthau sounds a lot like season 1 Homer. Like that's the voice that Dan Castellaneta was doing. Yeah,
That's what I was doing.
but get that butt over here.
Grab that butt. Anyway, so the gist is it's pretty much the same as the Laddie episode where the Simpsons get a much better version of something they already had and they prefer it. So instead of Santa's Little Helper, they have Laddie. Instead of Bart, they actually, a robot son is much more efficient. It does everything better. His face is a waffle iron.
I thought was really cool actually, and it looked cool visually.
And it's like a kind of a Bender joke where it's not really efficient. It doesn't really make sense for him to have a waffle iron.
No, not at all.
But it's just like visually funny. And
it was a cool.
And it's
nice
surprise.
This was probably
the strongest of the segments.
Probably the strongest segment, overall.
And I think it's a little bit tied into, like what you say with the shinning, where it's just a very clear parody. It knows what it's doing.
Not as good, obviously.
No, it wasn't.
But it was.
But it knew what it was doing. It knew where it was going.
Right.
It hit all the beats, and since it's hitting those beats, and it doesn't have to worry about those beats, it can concentrate on gags and jokes in between.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of good ones with the robot son. I liked when. They're like, oh, he's good with the neighbors too, and Flanders comes over and he just punches him in the crotch. I didn't like when Flanders was like, ooh, my Flanderdoodles.
Yeah, the Flanderdoodles
that was not great.
Terrible.
Just get him punched in the crotch and then cut.
Yeah.
That's
like,
that's enough.
And he just punches him.
But when Bart comes back, he says, eat my shorts, and he does so very literally, and he poops out a teddy bear.
And then Homer rips his pants off and says, make me a kitty. That was like a dumb Homer that was likable.
But that worked,
he would say.
That was like childlike wonder Homer, who is not hateable.
Exactly. I think, and I it would be nice if they can do something original and make it work in a few minutes. But it seems to be that by doing a very well-known property beat by beat, it helps because you have so little time. So if you're if it's kind of like the cynical idea that corporations, that movie studios, the reason everything is a reboot or a sequel these days is because they think, the audience...
Brand recognition.
Yeah, exactly, brand recognition. And this isn't exactly the same thing, but the idea is basically, all right, we know the story already, so we don't have to keep up, so now we can really just concentrate on jokes. And so it's good for the audience, and it's also good for the writers, because now that load is off their shoulders,
they can
jokes
focus
to hang
on a story that's already there.
And that's why the shinning is so good, and Fly versus Fly. These new ones seem to still have the same Simpsons symptoms as Simpsons in general, the post Simpsons, like most of the
jokes that go on too long or things like that.
But it definitely seems to help to do that beat by beat, as opposed to something a little bit more vague, like what we'll get into later, the costume one.
Yeah, definitely. So Bart comes back, and they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do now? We have two sons." There's like a montage scene to a short song clip, like they were doing a lot in this era, which was it was fine. Some of it was funny.
Yeah, it was okay.
Bart,
nothing to write home about.
Bart angrily eats ice cream that comes out of the robot kid's nose.
And really likes the ice cream, which I like because
he hates it, and then he really likes it, and then he hates it again, and they spend a lot of time on it.
It went on too long. It was very drawn out. I did like the idea that he hates it, but it's ice cream.
Right, it's ice cream. Everyone likes ice cream. And then things take a really weird turn, because he tries to push him into a lion's den, and the robot pushes him back, and Bart lands in the peacock habitat. And then, like, a bunch of feathers are moved away, and it's actually the mutant peacock habitat. Yeah. Was that really the best they could come up with?
So at first I was like, what the hell? Why is there a mutant peacock? And then I remembered it's supposed to be the future, like the near future.
Did they set that up, that it was supposed to be the near future at one point?
I don't know if they did. It didn't really click home until I saw the futuristic car later.
Right.
And then I guess, again, it's, your knowledge of AI is your backstory.
Yeah.
So you know that AI takes place in the near future.
Right, but they never made any attempt to say this was the future.
At least just even the very beginning, just say 2050 or something like that in Simpsons writing on the front.
Yeah.
That was a little confusing, but once I made the connection myself, and I was just like, okay, so that makes sense. I really like the animation. I like the eyes and the horns and the mutant peacock. It was very mist.
Like it was a fun otherworldly monster
character design.
But there's other ways to do that without making it mutant peacocks.
I guess I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, I was indifferent to it, but then they made a lame stem cell joke. Like, is this where our stem cell research goes towards?
And then they kill it with there's probably a way to make that joke about how stem cell research ended up only giving us funny looking animals. Yeah, that you could probably make that funny, but not by just spelling it out and going. That was stand up humor. It's like, hey, how about that stem cell research?
Topical joke here.
Yeah, stem cells here. What over there?
What do you think about it, Groophic?
I don't know. I'm so far away.
Okay, good. Stay far away.
I went to the bus stop. I'm a good citizen. Wear your helmets.
Thanks. Important safety tip. Thank you, Groophic.
So I want to talk about the future Simpsons car because.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that they just have a futuristic car for no reason.
I like the design that it was, they did this in the season 7, the very first future Simpsons episode where they pretty much just tacked on a wooden addition to the house.
Right.
I like the idea that
season
it was
6, but that's fine.
Is it season 6?
It is.
Are you sure?
Lisa, I'm quite sure, sir.
Lisa gets married.
Yeah, Lisa's wedding, season 6.
All right.
Hugh Parkfield.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like it's season 7.
You better not doubt that.
I know you actually did wear pig cufflinks to your wedding. I
did.
I shouldn't doubt you.
That's true.
But anyway, I like the idea of the pink with the dents in it, the car, and the futuristic. Well, so I like the futuristic look of this junky car. But once I saw the bubbles, I thought of a thing I would have rather have seen. Wouldn't it be funny as just like a reference? They don't even have to say it out loud. They shouldn't say it out loud, but just as a cool.
If they were driving the Homer.
If they were driving the Homer.
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be interesting. I wonder. It's been a while since I've seen AI, so I don't know if that was like a more direct parody of like the kinds of cars they had in AI.
I think it was.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's what I figured it was.
Yeah.
But it was just that and the mutant peacock thing. I was like, we've never established that we're in the future.
Right.
But
although that's why I think the Homer would have been funny because it would be like, hey, the Homer this thing from 1991 season 3
is now the future.
Is the go-to Spielberg in general sci-fi near future car.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
And this episode aired in 2005, so I'm not surprised they didn't do that. But I wonder if it came out now where they seem to be doing more specific references for fans.
Yeah.
Like not just callbacks, but fan callbacks.
Right, like having the B sharps or whatever on Moe's bar.
So I wonder if they would have made that joke, but whatever.
Yeah, it was fine.
So they dropped the twist is that they dropped Bart off. They got rid of Bart instead of getting rid of the robot. Like in AI, they get rid of the robot and keep the human. In The Simpsons, they get rid of Bart. What did you think about that?
I thought that was great. That's a great way to twist it. I saw it coming when they got the kid. I knew that's what they were going to do with it, but that's fine.
It's an obvious twist. I didn't see it coming right away. I was genuinely surprised, and I've seen this episode before. And I was like, oh, that's funny. It is pretty much the same joke, maybe inverted, I guess, as the Bart and Hugo, which is another great Halloween episode.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
from season 8. So Treehouse 7. where
Yes.
Bart has an evil identical twin living in the attic, and
yeah.
it turns out that he's the evil twin. So rather they go back to a status quo, but rather than having Bart stay, they put Bart in the attic and make Hugo the real son. It's
Right.
pretty much the exact same.
Yeah, I didn't
twist.
think about that, and I now like it less.
Yeah,
But it's fine.
There's only 2 ways to do it. So
Yeah, that's a good point. So Bart's stuck in the forest, and he meets a bunch of like crazy malfunctioning robots, and I was like, that's when the episode got real weird. I thought it ended really weird too. But
it didn't get weird for me because again that was the beat that came next in AI. It
Yeah.
wasn't funny,
but like,
especially when he goes, "What the F prompt?" Come on.
yeah, that was
the best you can
that was
do.
Not so good. And then Bart's like staying with these broken robots, and then he harvests all of their parts to turn himself into like a
Although
giant
you're
robot.
skipping the Lavatron.
Oh yes,
Where they're all complaining that Bart stole their parts.
Yeah.
And the urinal robot is just a urinal with like arms and a face, and
Yeah.
he's just like, he peed on me.
Yeah,
and
that was
the
funny.
delivery was funny. I didn't like but you're a urinal. I'm a Lavatron. Like whatever.
Yeah.
But I love the line, he peed on me, and it's just
Yeah,
this
that was funny.
this like Jetsons looking urinal.
Yep. So Bart becomes like this mega huge robot and comes back to the house. He's ready to kill the new robot. I don't know that I liked it, but I laughed when Bart kicks down the door and he's got like a spinning blade.
Yeah.
And the new son robot picks up Homer and he's like, to get to me, you'll have to go through Homer. And Bart immediately
Yeah.
cuts through Homer and
I
slices
liked
him in half.
It was the pace. I think that it was very well paced and edited.
It's
and
just because it
executed.
happened right away and it was so sudden.
The idea that Bart's not even giving it a second thought. Of course,
Yeah.
he would cut right through Homer. No, I like that a lot.
And then Homer has like robot legs. That didn't work so much. I don't know.
And then there was it transitions. It turns out to be one of those segments where it's all a dream.
Yeah.
I really liked the direction. They did a cool camera move where the camera kind of just turned 90 degrees.
Yep.
And then so now Homer's prone.
Yeah.
And then they transition to him in bed. So I really liked that camera move. What followed?
I wrote, what the fuck is this ending? Because it's just like, Homer, it was all a dream, but you're actually possessed by the devil. And then he climbs up the wall
it's an
like
Exorcist
The
parody.
Exorcist. Yeah. That felt very The Scary Door from Futurama. Do you remember that one where it was like, oh, but you're actually dead and you're in hell and I'm the devil? And then like the guy's head falls off.
But isn't that's supposed to be like
Yeah, it was parodying like the twists of the
Yeah.
Twilight Zone, but this just seemed like we don't know how to end this.
it was.
so
And
here you go.
And like, if it was funny, maybe we would have given it a pass.
Yeah.
This feels like something they would have done for the third segment. Usually they need to end the episode in general, like as a whole. So like that Inside Out gas that's killing
Right.
everyone, and then
Yep.
it seeps in through the windows.
I wish they had, because the way they do end the last segment was real weird.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Maybe our buddy Groophic can talk about it later.
We'll see. They didn't wear their helmets. Anyway, so no, maybe it would have been it would have worked better at the end. As is, it was just really jarring.
Yeah.
And it was not funny. I think if it was funny, we probably would have given it a pass. But it didn't make sense. Why are you doing this AI parody and then having it turn
then
into
have
a
it be
dream?
all a dream?
And then. I like AI. I think it's a good movie. I'm not sure. I don't think it's a classic, but it's a really good movie.
I need to rewatch it. I've only seen it once.
My favorite part, hands down, of AI is the third act. I think that's like the most inventive and coolest part.
Yeah.
Where basically the robot just puts him. He's waiting for his mother, and because he's a robot, he can just wait indefinitely, and he just waits. And eventually, the movie it's like, talk about what the fuck. A movie just has this
Yeah.
weird third act where very futuristic alien / advanced artificial intelligence rescues him, and then they give him that's a dream. They give him a dream, like a day with his mother. Is it a dream? I don't know. It's very, very existential, very ethereal.
Very trippy, yeah.
And that's why didn't they do? It didn't have to be that. Obviously, that's hard to do a parody of.
Maybe that is what they were trying to do.
That wasn't what they were trying.
No?
to do. Maybe I don't know. Maybe loosely, but it.
They're probably just like, the movie ends really trippy. Let's just end the segment really trippy.
They should have had something where Bart or somebody just turns off like for 300 years and wakes up in the very far future, and you have Mr. Burns' head in a jar.
Yes.
And-
Oh, that would've been cool.
No, so like
of callbacks.
why that should have, if you're doing AI, and they did AI beat by beat, and it was like there was a lot of shots that were direct parodies. You were doing an AI parody very faithfully. Why would you
they
end
just
it with
stopped.
this stupid Exorcist thing instead of ignore the most famous inventive act of the movie? It was really weird.
It was really
It was a
weird.
very odd choice.
And the fact that we like this segment the best should tell you what's coming up.
Stay tuned.
Are we going to a break, Groophic? A special word from our buddy Groophic.
Hello, boys and girls. Don't forget to wear your helmet. You don't want to get your brains on the floor when you get hit by a car on your bike.
This Groophic is awfully one note. Not like me. It's Dan Hadalik. Remember me from episodes past.
I also have another note. Wear knee pads.
Damn it, you foiled me, Groophic. Will our rivalry never end? Stay tuned, folks. All right, we'll be right back.
Wow, a robot kid would be a blast. We could confuse him and make his head explode. This statement is a lie. But if it's a lie, then it must be true. But if it's true, then it must be whoop, 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 kaboom!
All right, so the next segment is a spoof of The Most Dangerous Game.
Right,
Where Mr.
Survival
Burns
of the Fattest, which,
Yeah,
lazy,
whatever.
but whatever.
Or Surviving the Game, the Ice-T movie. That's a remake of, like the 90s remake of Most Dangerous Game.
Really?
Yeah, have you ever seen it?
No, I've seen The Pest with John Leguizamo.
So this is a spoof of Most Dangerous Game where Mr. Burns is very straightforward. Mr. Burns hunts them all down. They make it relevant, quote unquote, by making it a reality show.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I wanted to bring up. So early on, Homer thinks it's a hunting trip, so he goes along with the rest of Springfield characters.
Yeah, Skinner and Apu
Yeah,
and Lenny.
and
Yeah.
Lisa says, "Dad, how can you go? Hunting is a cruel sport." And it makes sense because Lisa's a vegetarian and she would be against it. I'm not even sure that's in the original Most Dangerous Game. Where
Oh, I don't think so.
because why would there be any anti-hunting character in a Hemingway
No.
story? Or
Hemingway?
Fitzgerald.
No, it was, oh crap.
It's not. You sure it's not Hemingway?
I'm positive it's not Hemingway. I'll tell you in a second. Richard Connell.
I always thought it was Hemingway.
No, Richard Connell. Later remade into The Pest.
Oh, The Pest. You're not joking? The Pest really is a remake of that?
Well, pretty much.
I've never seen it.
Surviving the Game.
I thought it was
is
like
a
a-
direct one.
I didn't realize The Pest was actually he gets hunted for sport.
Yeah, by Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
not
it
a
was-
good movie.
I thought it was just like a random '90s comedy.
No.
All right. Anyway, so Lisa goes, Dad, how can you do this? Hunting is wrong. And Homer's like, hunting's, there's nothing wrong with hunting. I like hunting. I was like, oh wow, they're setting up an arc here. That's great because he's clearly going to get hunted.
Yeah.
And then he'll see that hunting is wrong, and it'll be a nice character redemption. It's simple.
Yep.
Not much to it, but that a simple character arc like that does so much for story and jokes because it just builds on it. It really goes a long way to just have something simple like that. Just like
Definitely.
like doing the beats of a parody. I'm not gonna go see pay $15 to see a 2-hour remake of AI that's funny unless it's genuinely funny.
Yeah.
But for a 5-minute segment, it does a lot to have that. And same with this, a nice character arc, but it never goes.
But it wasn't an arc because it never went anywhere.
Yeah, Homer gets hunted, which we saw coming, and he never at one point does he go, oh man, now I realize that hunting is wrong. How could I hunt this innocent deer now that I know what it's like to be the hunted?
To be hunted,
That
yeah.
never had that arc. It's like, what would an arc be if it's just kind of like this round half? It'd be a pube.
It's just
it would literally just be this like pube, like just,
It's just
it
a
goes
curly
up and then
thing.
it
Yeah,
never comes
just-
back
just-
down. That's all my pubes, by the way, are all like they don't never come back down.
They never arc properly.
It's like
You
I'm
never-
permanently always being electrocuted. They're
Oh,
all just
man.
kind of on end.
Well, interestingly enough, that arc would have been, if they had done it, was exactly what we wanted The Man Who Came to Be Dinner to be.
Yeah, you're right.
Where Homer was going to be eaten and he liked meat, but,
Yeah,
missed opportunity.
And the fact, like I said, I'm pretty sure that arc isn't even in the original story. So the
No, I
fact
don't
that they
think so.
go out of their way to put it in there, why wouldn't you finish it off with one line?
Yeah,
One line.
that's all it takes.
And it would've
Instead,
made-
it ends with hardcore banging on TV.
Besides that, we mentioned the bag of heads.
Yeah, well, I just want to. There's a couple of lines I liked and a bunch of things I did not like. They're all sitting down to dinner at Mr. Burns' house, and Lenny says to Carl, what kind of motive do you think Mr. Burns has? And Carl says, ulterior.
Yeah, I
thought that was a great line.
That's like a great Lenny and Carl one line.
Yeah.
like one and done.
But then right after that, there's a long bit about Mo being like, is this a timeshare? Because I ain't got good credit. And it was just,
That was terrible.
too much. It was no good.
I love Mo, one of my favorite characters. Not so much in the newer seasons, but
All the Mo stuff in this clip,
stuff
yeah.
in this was awful.
He dies by getting impaled, and he's
then
like,
he just
I
goes
got this
on forever.
winning lottery ticket. If I get out of this, I'm going to change my life. And then he just dies, and it's why
it
was that
all,
there?
All
It was
the Mo stuff was terrible.
no good. And that scene with the lawyer, where Mr. Burns' lawyer, the blue-haired lawyer, gets up and he's like, you don't have legal basis to do this. Well, but actually, you can do this for religious reasons.
So I was watching that. I'm just like, all right, I know he's gonna say, you can justify this. It's legal, and then he goes, thanks, lawyer, and kill him. So
Yeah.
I saw it coming right away. I
But
didn't see them doing
they
a second
extended it.
scene
Yeah.
where he actually types it. I goes, okay, all typed out.
This should be legal for you.
And then they kill it.
Why did you need any of that?
Like, not only are you doing an obvious joke, you're doing it for 2 scenes.
Yeah, it was way too much.
What the hell? Ugh. This was definitely the least.
This was the weakest one,
weakest
for sure.
one. Maybe, I don't know, between this and the baseball one. It's probably weaker than the baseball one.
Yeah. Mr. Burns shoots Apu, and Apu reincarnates immediately into a rabbit that then dies. What'd you think of that?
I wasn't crazy about it. It wasn't executed very well. I'm sure there was a better way to make it. Like, it didn't. The idea of the joke I wasn't against. It wasn't funny. I did like when he gets caught in the trap and he goes, "Help me, Jesus!"
Yeah, that was funny.
And that was again in the delivery. It was the fact that it was so fast. It was just like he immediately went from one to the other. He went, and that makes it funny.
Apu as a rabbit was a cute animation.
It was a fun animation.
As we know, they do cute animals. They do cute animals.
Yeah, they do.
And the fact that it was a reality show called the World Series of Manslaughter, and like Terry Bradshaw was the guest star, kind of commentating it. That didn't really work for me because again, they didn't really do anything with it. They only brought him back at the end to kind of comment on the fact that they're showing a violence on TV, but when Homer and Marge are going to have sex, they cut away.
Right. I like the fact that they referenced that, even though they didn't do anything with it. But that's one of my hugest pet peeves in pop culture is that violence, sex gets way more censored than violence. In America, pretty much, not really so much Europe.
Those Europeans, they love their sex.
Their cousins dangerous. But no, so I was, anytime that gets brought to a mainstream audience, but they didn't do anything with it, so I'm sure most people just went over their head anyway.
Right. It was just, it was just there.
And they just needed a guest star, so this is a good time to put Terry Bradshaw in.
I guess.
And he did his job.
Is there ever a good time to put Terry Bradshaw in?
It wasn't painfully bad, but it wasn't good either. They also, Homer resorts to cannibalism right away and eats Frink.
Yeah.
And they're like, "There's bananas right there."
And he's just like, "Yeah, but they're probably not ripe."
It wasn't the worst joke. It wasn't good. It wasn't horrible. But South Park did it first, and South Park did it better with that. Where they set it up much better and had the people locked in during the blizzard or whatever. And, and
in the rec center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Homer, even worse, uses Barney as his bait and murders his best friend so that he can survive. Which I could get.
At first, I thought he murdered him, but did he murder him, or was he already dead? Maybe, and he's just his corpse.
He murdered him because he made a joke about it immediately afterwards, and he was like, "I murdered my best friend," but whatever.
I thought he was just saying he was using his best friend's corpse, and like Burns had already shot him or something. I don't know.
Maybe whatever. I don't know. Whatever it was whatever. Actually, the only other thing I wanted to mention about this segment was when Lenny gets killed, he sees a vision of heaven, and it's nothing but Carl angels.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny and a good visual too.
Like the Lenny Carl thing is not one of my favorite jokes. Like
they pushed it into a weird place, like a weird homoerotic kind of thing.
It's not even that so much. It's just I've never found it particularly laugh out loud funny. There's a few times where there's nobody on that helicopter for me. Think again, or was it? Don't be so sure.
Yeah. Was that Carl or was that Groophic?
It's my voice being.
Voice, yeah. There you go.
No, so I didn't love it, didn't hate it.
But Groophic is a separate person from you, right? I mean,
we're all the same. It's like the Holy Trinity.
Oh my God, my head is exploding!
Yeah, so finally, the last segment was I've grown a costume on your face, which
doesn't totally make sense because no one grows a costume on their face.
I guess the witch grew the costume,
in your face.
So
whatever.
A couple of things about this I want to ask you: is this a spoof of something, a parody of something like an actual story? Is there a Twilight Zone or something where?
The first thing that came to my mind was an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from season 2, where everyone turns into their Halloween costumes.
That's a fun idea.
It's called Halloween.
So maybe you think it's a parody of that, or is this a thing that's been done before?
That
I've
is
never seen it.
Only instance I know of.
Seems kind of obvious,
and that was in like '97. So that's a pretty long time ago. It was well before this episode.
Right, and I'm sure the Simpsons writers were probably Buffy fans.
Some of them.
Sure. I don't know. I feel like it's such an easy idea that I feel like I'm missing a parody.
Maybe there's something bigger. I don't.
But
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they only did it because of the pun title. Like,
right.
I've grown.
You think they came up with that first, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna do it.
Exactly. Like any of these staff members, can we turn this into their name? No. All right, we'll write an episode. That's what I had. And again, I would like to see an original segment done well if this was original. But it was one of the. Well, I guess it wasn't one. We keep saying it's the weakest one. They're all the weakest one.
No, I don't think it was the weakest one. I think the second one was really the weakest one.
Story-wise, it was a little goofy.
Well, there was a lot I liked. Okay, so just real quick, there's a costume party in Springfield, and an actual witch wins it, and then they're like, "Oh, but I'm not actually in a costume. This is who I am. I'm a witch."
But it was Cat Lady, right? It was pretty much Cat Lady?
Kind of, yeah.
Like, not in
a similar
universe,
design.
but...
It was a similar design. It wasn't supposed to be her, though. And it was
supposed to be
she
a
said,
regular-
"I'm an
yeah,
actual
it was
witch.
an
I'm not
actual
in a
witch.
costume." And they
She
take
had a
away.
cat.
All witches have cats, and all cat ladies have cats. But not all witches are cat ladies. Actually, that doesn't make sense. They
I'd
would
like
be-
to meet
I
the
don't know.
cat lady that doesn't have cats. Actually hates cats.
Hello, I'm the cat lady who doesn't like cats.
You're also Mrs. Featherbottom.
Yes, I am.
You can.
I'll go wait for the bus with Groophic, okay?
Where you helping?
No, don't tell me what to do. I'm a very independent woman. That's why I'm a cat lady who doesn't like cats.
Okay.
Goddamn right, Groophic. Shut your mouth. I get real angry when the bus doesn't come.
Well, I heard there's a long wait.
You're goddamn right there is. Okay, back to this episode. They take away the witch's gift certificate that she won for winning the costume contest, and she puts a curse on everybody in the town where they become their Halloween costumes. And that's basically it. They don't do much with it.
They don't know.
At the end, they bring up this interesting idea of a bunch of people hated what they became. Like Marge was dressed as a skeleton, so she hated being a skeleton. And Homer was a headless guy, and his head fell off. But a bunch of people were cool things, and they wanted to stay in their costumes.
They should have done more with that conflict. That should have been the driving
Exactly,
force
that
of
should have been
of
the whole
segment.
thing. Yeah. Instead, it was just this tacked on thing at the end that went nowhere.
Yeah, and even if you want to actually give give it some depth and some that old Simpsons, societal commentary.
Yeah.
Something about how we're working class, you live a humdrum life, and you work 40 hours a week, and you're exhausted. Maybe it'd be nice to be a construction worker or a bulldozer or whatever, Bumblebee or whatever.
Yeah.
No, they
didn't really
they didn't do anything with that.
Yeah. Also, it was interesting. Some of the designs of the costumes were interesting. So let's talk a bit about that. Nelson says that he's the Lone Ranger, and he's really just got like axle grease around his eyes
because he's poor.
And everyone thinks that he's supposed to be a raccoon, and he's got like a toilet bowl brush as his horse.
Silver, yeah.
Which is funny, and then when he gets turned into his costume, he turns into a raccoon who has the toilet bowl thing as his tail.
Oh, is that why he was round? I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on with that. Why his tail was round. I just like
smooth move, Exlax.
What? I just like that that she also the spell thought he was a raccoon.
Yeah,
I like to think of it that way, and not even that the witch made him a raccoon. That the spell assumed.
Right, it just assumed he was a raccoon with a toilet bowl brush tail.
I like that. Yeah, a lot of the
animation was really good. Dr. Hibbert they said that he was Blackula, and he was like, I'm just regular Dracula. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, then he's like, my wife said I shouldn't do it, and I said it's 21st century.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little too on the nose.
The idea was funny, that he was just trying to be Dracula,
Right,
but because he's black, they say he's Blackula.
Right.
And then I actually really liked, after he was actually turned into a vampire, the animation was really cool.
Yeah, when he takes Grandpa away.
He takes Grandpa away, and he's like, we're going to take you to the ape hospital, because Grandpa turned into an ape and broke his hip, and he just like takes him away kind of lasciviously.
Yeah, it was very creepy.
He knows he's gonna like drink his blood, and he's got these like badass bat wings, and I was like, damn,
that was actually really cool.
The coolest Dr. Hibbert has ever been.
Yeah, no, that was.
It was, and just the way it was animated, I thought was really, really terrific.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that a lot.
Visually, I think this was the best.
Yeah, by far.
Best one.
I mean, that's the thing. You're doing a Halloween episode, though. It's not to do 3 small segments with violence. The point is to have some fun, like let loose.
Right.
You're breaking down your own rules a little bit, and you get more freedom to goof off. Not Groophic.
Not Groophic.
To goof off.
Right.
And that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
and
nice when they're having fun, we're having fun.
It did seem like they were having fun with this one. I just wish that, since they brought in that cool idea later on in it, I wish they
should have had the writing and the jokes to back it up. I did like when Sideshow Mel goes, when they find out that she's not in costume, and that, so, they find out that she's actual witch, so they take away her Quickie Mart gift certificate, and that's why she casts a spell. Mm-hmm. And Sideshow Mel goes, burn her! Gift certificate, and it was such a long beat. It wasn't even a beat and a half. I think it was 2 beats.
Yeah,
but it worked so well. And again, Sideshow Mel, always hilarious.
Sideshow Mel's always great when he's like the voice in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
He works really well for that.
There. Or when he's dying in the bathroom.
Yeah,
he's dead. What? Or sick?
I don't know. I also liked when the witch was first winning the gift certificate. I think it was Mayor Quimby was like, "Which beloved townsperson are you?" Just like because all of them were in costume, and it was fun. funny,
I also like when she does cast a spell, she talks in like Shakespearean witch talk, and does witch talk pretty much come from the way Shakespeare wrote the witches in Macbeth? Is that
guess.
where, like
That's
the
gotta be
bubble, toil and trouble came from?
That's got to be one of the
Or maybe
earliest
that's
ones.
how real witches talk, and Shakespeare was just being realistic. I don't know.
Shakespeare's always being real, bro.
He keeps it real.
He tells it like it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be the king of Denmark.
And sometimes in his plays, it's a little shoehorned in when he gets a little preachy when he's like, "You guys, wear your bike helmet."
Yeah.
Wear a helmet.
Sometimes it gets annoying when they go back to that well too much Shakespeare.
Like, all right, you had something there for 10 seconds. You should have let it go.
Just bury it in.
Just trying to find your new Dalek. You're just trying to milk it for all it's worth.
Did someone say my name?
We sure did. Lots of times.
Okay.
No.
Can I stay here? It's cold out, even though it's April.
So anyway, she's doing the silly witch talk.
Yeah.
And Carl goes, "Speak English, moron." And like the speak English was like whatever. The moron I actually liked, even though it was kind of mean spirited, but it was just so uncalled.
Just Carl saying
like,
moron.
It was so completely uncalled for. Like, why are you calling her a moron? Like, I don't know. It was mean spirited, and it was kind of an easy joke, but it was so absurdist and out of left field that I actually really liked it. If that makes sense.
Okay.
And
that's
again,
fine.
and the delivery, Hank Azaria's delivery.
Of course.
No, Shearer. No, Azaria.
Carl is Azaria, yeah. There was a moment where Willie is a giant thing of bug spray. Was that Willie's Halloween costume? He was bug spray? I thought that was kind of weird.
That creeped me out, and I don't know if it was because of the Willie Halloween episode, the Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace. Maybe it's because I saw that as
a great one.
Maybe it's because I saw it when I was younger. That episode's always genuinely kind of scared me.
It's always freaked me out a little bit.
I think it's because maybe the music and the direction, like they did such a good job emulating Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
That one was always genuinely scary. Like, not
I agree with
super
you.
scary. I could watch it with the lights on. But
well, there were some
off,
Halloween episodes that when it ended, I was unnerved.
Yeah.
Not like scared, not like I can't go to bed, I need to keep the lights on.
But like
it's just
the nightmare sequences with him in that one where he's like, where Bart and Lisa's trapped with him. There's genuine dread when oh no, Maggie's asleep too. And when I saw him as the bug spray, it brought those feelings back. Like I thought he was scary to see him as the bug spray, and I don't know if it was because it's Willie's face or if it's
Willie's big dumb Scottish face,
or maybe it's just burned into my brain that episode, and like those connotations will always be there.
I also had it was like Nom. I had flashbacks to that episode and like, oh, he's gonna rake me to death.
Yeah, not to poo-poo Vietnam vets and what they've done for this country.
Yeah, please don't.
But watching Simpsons Halloween episodes, it's pretty much the same thing.
That's our Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's your parade.
Yeah. In the same vein, Milhouse's costume was bulldozer.
Yeah,
because he just was a giant bulldozer.
Big Tonka truck.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the gag? Homer became a headless guy, and he's sitting on the couch drinking beer, and it just keeps falling out.
It went on too long. Even if it didn't go on too long, wasn't that funny?
I agree completely.
Like they've been doing the you drink something and it comes out of the hole since fucking Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies. Right. I'm just shocked.
Or that classic joke: a skeleton walks into a bar. I would like a beer and a mop.
Yeah, exactly. And you have Marge being the skeleton. Why don't you do the joke there if you're gonna do it?
That's true.
Homer's your a prominent character, not so much in this segment, but he is the main Simpson. I'm surprised they didn't put more thought and come up with something better, a funnier costume for him to turn into. It's like the possibilities when you're turning people into costumes, the possibilities are endless. And that one seemed kind of lazy.
It did, because a lot of them were either famous historical figures, like Lisa was Albert Einstein, or like monsters. Bart was a werewolf, Maggie was a witch, Marge was a skeleton.
They were all kind of lazy. Like the skeleton one, you got that cat joke where the cat's using it so much. Lisa had to be Einstein or someone smart because she was the one that figures out the, such a hard thing that only a genius could figure out. She didn't really
have to figure it out. It was Maggie is also a witch and could change everything back.
But Bart too. Bart being a werewolf, I was like, that's kind of lazy. That's not fun.
Yeah, it could have been something more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and then so Maggie is a witch, and Lisa figures out that Maggie can turn everyone back. But instead, Maggie just turns everyone into giant anthropomorphic pacifiers, and then she flies off away.
Pacifiers.
That was a weird ending.
And were they wooden pacifiers? The color scheme was weird.
I think they were just like supposed to be that like drab brownish hard plastic that you see like pacifiers are
Yeah,
made
it looked
of.
weird.
It did look weird, and then for no reason, it just became Mo talking about adult illiteracy
Right.
into the camera.
So, like the Simpsons, the Halloween episodes, and even once in a while the Christmas episodes, they like to be meta and go, hey, let's address the camera and say, thanks for watching this year's Halloween special, and here's something, like the shitting one did a great job with the Inside Out gas, and then they
turn into a musical number that we actually like, or at least I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great one. But they've done ones like that too, and then there's like the Christmas one where Merry Christmas from the Simpsons. Ha ha.
Yeah, right.
She turned into a donkey. So this was in that vein.
Right, or it was the exact same thing as the vapor lock joke from the Bart Starr episode with Joe Namath. It was the same thing. It was just, hi folks, we've got a lot of fun. And he talks to the camera.
The joke is that they're trying to do like a PSA.
But were they actually trying to do a PSA? Because it's played completely serious, and adult illiteracy is obviously a problem.
And it was played so straight that I was like, this isn't funny because adult literacy is a serious problem. You're kind of making light of it, and I do think they were. I don't think they were playing it straight. I think it.
And you think they were just mocking adult illiteracy?
Maybe if they had like a website at the if they were playing it straight, there should be a website like where you can donate and here's these charities or something like that.
But even if they had done that, it has nothing to do with anything in the episode.
I mean, I'm not. I don't think either way is justified. But I'm saying I don't think it was played straight. I think the joke was, hey, we're picking this kind of obscure topic and we're doing a PSA about it. I think that's why they did adult literacy. Because it's not the first thing you'd think of.
They should have picked something that was like a disease that's been cured already or something like that. Like, I don't know.
That's not bad.
Smallpox.
You can't offend anybody that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a fake disease like if you've turned into a costume or something like that. I don't know. But
that's true. That could have been the same thing.
It was really off-putting. I didn't like it. I kind of like Dennis Rodman coming on. His delivery was pretty funny. He played it straight.
And they say, Dennis Rodman, what are you doing here? And he says, I'm just here to work off a parking ticket.
Yeah, which is another joke they've done a few times before with celebrities.
He's like a bad boy. He's the kind of guy who would have to do public service to get out of things.
They've made, like, 50 Cent made a similar joke when he was on the show. But
did you notice that Dennis Rodman's head was enormous compared to everyone else's?
Yeah.
That was weird.
It was almost like he was on big head mode on
right.
HM.
Dipsy do Dunkaroo, baby.
The nail in the coffin. Boom shakalaka.
He's on fire.
He's on fire.
Always wear your helmet. We switched.
Why am I doing Dalek?
I don't know. That's it. That's all I've got. And that's how the episode ended.
Yeah, no, so I didn't like that ending at all. It felt really forced.
No, it was way forced.
And
on top of the Exorcist one they'd already done,
Right.
it was just like, how many of these are just going to end with completely random shit?
And then having Mo do it, it seemed corny, really. It seemed like, I get what they were doing, but it just, like having Mo go, and we're gonna be serious here for a second, and then you see all the pacifiers kind of like turn towards the camera and it was I don't know, it was really corny. I felt it was like cringe. I was cringing a little bit at how corny it was, and I don't know if it was because those things usually are corny, but I don't know.
It didn't work.
I mean, they've done PSAs before that were funny. The Vapor Lock's funny.
I like
Bart
the Vapor
talking
Lock.
about the Star Wars trilogy and wars in general at the end of Bart the General.
Yeah.
That was him directly dressing the camera. It can be done in different ways, and it can be done funny. This just fell flat. It was
Yeah, I agree.
Welcome all. Now, to explain why I summoned you here. Oh, God, here it comes. Timeshare pitch. Well, I got bad credit, so the joke's on you.
I think it's time to put this one to bed.
Yeah.
And do our ranking.
Yeah, I would say before we rank it in general, the difference between this one and the only other one we've done so far is that one was bland, and this one was, the jokes were, when they didn't work, they were painfully unfunny.
Yeah, I would say the first and the last segment, the first meaning the AI one, not the opener, they were memorable. They just didn't come together as well as they could have.
And it seems to work. If you if you're doing a parody, do it beat by beat, play it straight, and just fill it in with gags and jokes. And
the story's already there.
And it's nice if you do add an emotional arc to give it a little meat, like they started to. They added the pube in the second segment, but
added the pube.
But you can't live off pubes. You got to stretch that out into an arc.
Oh, you can. You need to stretch your pubes, everyone. You've heard it here.
Everybody, stretch your pubes.
Oh, goodness, Groophic.
Play it safe.
Goodness, Groophic. Get back to the bus stop, please.
Don't get in a huff. Keep it puffy. Your pubes, that is.
This is interminable. Okay, so we're going to rank this episode with our system. We've got a 4-factor analysis we use on our episodes here. We're looking at the humor of the episode, how funny was it, and all of these are on a scale of 0 to 5. We're looking at the humor, we're looking at the integrity of the episode, were the characters themselves, was this kind of, The Simpsons as we know it, the production, how this episode look and feel and sound, and was it directed well, and the originality of the episode, how original it was, how unique it was, how much it all tied together. So let's put some time on the clock and let's do it. Humor and integrity, as we know, they are valued more than the other two. And here we go, the humor of this episode. Jack, what do you think?
I might be going a little generous. I'm wavering between 0.5 and 1, but I think I'm going to give it a 1.
That's low.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. There was a handful of jokes I did like, but I don't think there were that many.
Yeah.
But then there were a lot of jokes I actively didn't like. Again, and like this one wasn't bland; it was actively unfunny, like Homer's robot impression and.
Actually, you know what? You're
and
right. I was
the Mo shit and all the
I
Mo
was
stuff.
thinking a 2, but
The
you're
whole
talking me
ending.
into something lower. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think 2's way high.
2's way high.
Maybe if you're the fact that you think 2 was you were even thinking 2 tells me that 0.5 is probably too harsh. I'll go 1.
You may have talked me into also going 1, because I would say 1 is a couple of laugh-out-loud jokes, the rest of it falls flat, which is pretty apt for this one.
1 is also the loneliest number.
The integrity of the episode, what have we got here? I mean, it's a
right.
Halloween one, so this is a tough one to rank.
Again, it's not that tough to rank because.
Oh, okay, I'm an idiot then.
I mean, Bart, doing BI makes sense. Bart, Marge loves Bart, and she's a loving mother, and she'd adapt to this robot son.
Right.
And they would think that Bart isn't as, they would prefer the robot over Bart.
Yeah.
And then the Most Dangerous Game, again, they started to set up an arc with the vegetarian.
Yeah.
That, it makes sense that Lisa would fight it and Homer would be okay with it. I'm going to give it 2.5.
I'm thinking I'm going to go with 2, just to be under you. That didn't sound right. Got that. That was a little Groophic. Okay, the production of the episode. I'm actually probably going to go pretty high on this.
Yeah, and between the costumes.
Yeah, the costume one was really well animated. There was a lot of good stuff. The Hibbert thing.
The baseball one. A lot of pacing was in terms of editing. Pacing was done well.
Yeah, I liked
that.
God getting pulled into the black hole. I thought that was funny.
I like
and
the
it
camera
was well
move.
animated.
Hibbert is the bat. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
I think I'm also going to give it a 3.5. We're really in step with each other on this episode.
Oh yeah.
And the originality of the episode. Finally, what do we got? There's a lot of parodies,
Which we give a little. We take a little off, but not too much.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with parodies.
but they were all good ideas.
They were good parodies,
shorts.
and they made use of them a little
They
bit.
made use of most of
the
them.
BI and but.
Yeah, the last two didn't come together so well.
The character arc. Once you have a pube instead of an arc, you lose points.
Yeah,
Lose points for pubes.
That's a classic word to live by. I'm thinking middle of the road on this one. Maybe a little lower. Maybe a 2.
That's what I was gonna say it too.
Yeah, okay. 2 it is.
Especially because that baseball opening was pretty shitty.
Yeah, it was. Okay, great. So we've crunched the numbers, and Treehouse of Horror 16 has weighed in as a better episode than The Great Louse Detective, which we did a couple of weeks ago, but a worse episode than Homer vs. Dignity, which
You never want to be on that side of Homer versus Dignity.
yeah, that's true.
But this earned it. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that good of an episode.
It wasn't that good. It had its moments.
We've
but-
watched a lot. We've watched a lot worse.
That puts it
in our 29 episodes.
Yeah, that put it pretty much smack in the middle of our list, which is I think it's a good
Yeah,
spot
that's
for
fair.
it. And it put it above the other Halloween episode we watched, just a couple above.
Which is interesting because again, that episode, it's apples and oranges almost because that one was so bland and this one was funny when it was funny and really unfunny when it wasn't.
Yeah,
But I guess it pays to take risks like that because it's ranking higher than our bland one.
there you go. Higher than bland is some of the best compliments you can give.
It's what I live on.
That's
live
right. So that is the end of the episode. Look at that. We ran out of time, everybody. No more Groophic. Sorry.
by. You're all craving more.
Craving for the Groof.
Give him his own spin-off podcast about wearing helmets.
Groophic language. That is it for this episode. If you have a terrible Simpsons episode you'd like to suggest as a worst episode ever, you can do that at our website, weepodcast.com, weepodcast.com. And you can do that on Facebook or Twitter and email. You can get all that on there. Check out the show notes and stream the show there. You can click through our Amazon links, which help keep the show going. If you just go to weepodcast.com, click the Amazon links, and then shop on Amazon like you normally would, that helps keep us in the red or the black, whichever it is, the good one.
Yeah, the green.
Keep us in the green. The greenbacks.
The finger thing means the
The
money.
finger thing means the taxes. And thanks for downloading the show and supporting us on iTunes, telling your friends, all that good, fun stuff.
If you haven't, you better step it up.
What is wrong with you? We're giving you free entertainment. You can't get Groophic anywhere else. It's insane. Groophic, what do you think about that?
Oh, he's at the bus stop.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
He actually went.
Good. You can find us on Twitter at Worst Episode Pod.
I think it's a good idea.
Get back out there.
It's a bit of a delay.
You can find us on Twitter at Worst Episode Pod. You can find
downwind.
You can find me personally at Then Dan Says. I very rarely tweet though. And Jack, where can we find you?
Jackie No Breaks, and also you check out my Use It in a Sentence Facebook page / blog. What do you call that thing? I don't know. What do you call that?
A Tumblr blog.
A website.
Facebook. I don't know.
My thing. My performance art.
Yeah.
Check out my thing.
It's very funny. You should check it out. And if you're in the Brooklyn area, you can come out and check out Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. That is the first Thursday of every month at Berry Park. So if you're listening to this when it comes out, it's going to be next week for you.
See you there, Groophic and other Groophic.
How many Groofics are there?
My brother Groophic.
Hello. Don't forget to wear a cup. Come out to Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. I co-host that with friend of the show, Dan Ozzie, first Thursday of every month. And if you're in Toronto, Chicago, Vancouver, other great North American cities, and Calgary has one now, just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. You can find more information about that. We will be back next week, believe it or not, possibly with Groophic, possibly without him.
We'll see how the fans react.
Tell us how much you hate Groophic or love Groophic.
We'll do like Andy Kaufman on SNL. We'll just vote him off permanently.
Next month is going to be nothing but Groophic, no matter what you say. So we'll be back next week with a new contender for worst episode ever. We are going to be watching... Jack, what are we going to be watching?
Well, Dan, who I am currently sitting across and talking to in real time, next week's episode will be Season 22's Love is a Many Strangled Thing. Back to you, Dan, who can now respond to me, Jack, as this is a live conversation and not a response I recorded several days late.
All right, so check it out. We'll put links up to the Simpsons World link on the website. And that's it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. So we will...
well, it's not quite it because so we right now is normally where we try to come up with an ending and we kind of just fumble
and then it just ends.
Awkwardly ends, and then you wonder why you even bother listening to us and what you've done with the last hour and 15 minutes of your life.
That's exactly right.
So we're gonna try something new for our endings, and we're gonna kind of need your guys' help. Our fun. Our
You're
favorite
gonna need
listeners.
my help?
No, not you. I know I'm pointing at you.
Yeah, okay.
But I just had weird deja vu. Anyway, so. No.
You're going to need my help?
Wow, this is really weird deja vu. Anyway.
You're going to need my help?
Wow, this is really weird deja vu.
People hate this episode. I can tell already. Like we're just...
This is an empty nest one.
This is an empty nest one.
No, so to make it up to you guys, to our faithful listeners, and we genuinely do love you guys.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't do we started doing it for ourselves maybe, but we do it more for you now than anything.
Yeah.
Because we really hate it. We hate doing this.
This takes a lot of time to make this damn show, actually. So
a lot of Popeyes. We've gained 40 pounds each since starting.
I have gained some weight from Popeyes. Make your turkey perky.
Anyway, so long story short, so we want you guys help to help us on this show. So if you guys can, either on your iPhones or your Androids or your computer, any way you can get it to us, email us an audio copy or join a Google Drive. We got to figure out the logistics. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah, just email us a sound clip. You can do it on our website.
We want you guys to record the ending for us, and what we're looking for is for your version of cut all this. Just tell us to cut all. Look, we go on a little bit long. I don't know if you guys notice, and we need you guys to literally tell us to cut all this.
Yeah.
So record yourselves saying.
Do with it what you will. Just say cut all this as long as you got that.
And give us your name and where you're from, and you can either do that in text. Definitely do it in text, actually. But you can also record it if you want. We're not sure what we'll incorporate, but we definitely want to get your voice saying cut all this. And we're going to try this for the summer. This is the summer for the fans. So we're going to try this at least for May and see how it goes. And I'm sure it's better than how we've been ending the show, to be honest. So it's starting next week. So hopefully at least one of you guys in the next 7 days will send us a clip of saying cut all this, and that will be our new ending.
If you don't, I will send in my own clip, and it will probably be Joe Pesci.
No. So now we're threatening. Now we're using that was the carrot. Here's the stick.
Yeah. That's right.
Just if you don't want to hear Dan Mulhall doing Joe Pesci again, please send Send us your voice saying cut all this, and we will cut all this.
Yes.
And so that's how we will end this show next week.
And today I think it's only appropriate that our new friend ends the show. So that's it for first episode ever. Thanks, everybody.
Boys and girls, make sure you wear your helmets. Otherwise, you might end up in hell. Met the devil. You will.
You didn't even say cut all this. And I think the voice was different. Cut all this. This is over.
So won't you please donate a children's book or something?
Together, we can make reading a slam dunk.
Dennis Rodman, what are you doing here?
Working off a speeding ticket. Happy Halloween, everybody!